Hello, welcome to Financial Freedom Fridays. Hey, I'm Gus Tucker. I'm your host for this conversation, and I'm hoping you've had a great week. And I know we're just coming off of Thanksgiving. Hope you had a great Thanksgiving when you see this, and that you really enjoyed your time with your family. So, we've been talking about over the past few weeks entrepreneurship, and we had Johnny Stewart from the Black Unicorn Factory on around the whole area of making money through entrepreneurship and through entrepreneuring. Entrepreneuring is working at your current job and creating more value by innovating and then making more money. And then entrepreneurship is about owning a business and therefore being able to drive your income to any levels that you want to. Because financial independence is all about managing your cash flow in such a way that your money starts to work for you versus you having to work for your money. But the issue becomes, do we have enough cash flow? So we've been talking about creating income, and we'll circle back on that topic throughout our times together to revisit it because your income circle is critical to financial independence. So what we want to talk about today, and you see it kind of going across the bottom of the screen, is Financial Freedom Friday, how money works and the 7 money milestones. So if you go to the first slide, it's creating pathways to financial independence. Okay, that's what we're going to talk about, and we're going to leverage financial literacy. We're going to leverage financial literacy and set the 7 money milestones, which are really habits that we're going to develop to get us to financial independence. So if you could go to that second slide, what is financial independence? Have you thought about that? So if you have a second, you can read this, and it says financial independence is the state of having sufficient personal wealth to live without having to work actively for basic necessities. In other words, can you maintain your lifestyle without you physically having to go to work ever again? That's financial independence. And what I want you to think about is that something that you desire? Is that something that you desire? So we're going to start moving into us working together to create your financial independence. So the first question for me is, do you want financial independence? And what I would say to you is that I would ask you to write down 10 reasons why you want financial independence. I want you to write those down. Now, while we're talking, 10 reasons why you want financial independence. Because we're going to review a number of practical skills paired with some wisdom and some knowledge and some understanding and some practical skills that are going to create the habits to get you to financial independence. But you got to have strong reasons why you want something. How do I know that? All of you are busy, okay? And all of you have a certain way of doing things right now that's gotten you to where you are financially right now. If you like where you're at, don't change anything. If you want to improve it in some way, then you're going to have to change how you think. You have to change the decisions that you make and develop some new habits. Because those new habits will lead you to new decisions, which will lead you to new outcomes. So success leaves clues. Success leaves clues. And these 7 money milestones are the clues that we're going to be going through. But first, I want you to look at these definitions of literacy and financial literacy. Financial literacy is really, I was talking about this epidemic that we had 3 or 4 years ago before COVID. And I called it the financial illiteracy virus, FIV, the financial illiteracy virus that's impacting billions of people around the world. Okay, literacy is the competence or knowledge in a specific area, in a specified area. Financial literacy is understanding how to earn, and we were just talking about that in our previous conversations, how to earn, spend, save, manage, and invest money. So let me ask you a question. How many classes have you had on each one of those areas? Or could you tell me some principles? Or could you put together a presentation about how to earn money, how to spend money, how to save money, how to manage money, how to invest money? Okay, financial literacy. Frederick Douglass says, once you learn to read, you will be forever free. The same thing is true about learning how money works. Do you expect your children to know something that they've never read about or studied? Do you? Probably not. What would it be like to require your children to show that they were proficient, to pass a test in a subject matter that they've never heard of? But their whole lifestyle would be impacted by how they do on this test. You know, the thing is, that's what happens to us when it comes to money. The way our economy is set up and the way we're trained, we're expected to know how money works, and nobody taught it. Only 21 states, only 21 states require any kind of financial literacy training before leaving high school. And as few as 5 to 7 years ago, that number was like 5 states. It's just gotten up to 21. We've been around as a country for a long time, hundreds of years, but yet and still we haven't taught our population this stuff. So here's the whole thing. Financial literacy. Can we go to the next slide? Here's the whole thing about financial independence. It's about creating passive income. I know you hear about that all the time, creating passive income, residual income. And when we talked about the cash flow quadrants, having a business or having investments are the only way to make that happen. If you have a job, you can't create passive income because you have to go to work to make the money. If you're self-employed, it's very tough to create passive income because you go do the work to create the income. So you have to get your money working for you, or you have to get your assets working for you. Okay? So you can have investments through currency or real assets, like what? Real estate, a business that you own, intellectual property that you created something that people pay you royalties to use. Real assets that are creating income for you. That's how you create financial independence. Does that make sense? You're living off the resources that are created by your assets. And you want to shift having your most precious asset be you going to work every day to something else. Either a business team that you developed that creates an income that you can live off of. Money that you've invested that throws off enough money for you to live on. Real estate. Or you've created some sort of intellectual property that people pay you a royalty to use. Now, think about it. How many classes do we usually get on creating those assets that can create passive income? Not many. That's why we have all the social media ads with all the people, trainers, coaches, whatever. They're teaching that because they had to come with it and come put that together because it's not a part of our formal education system. It's not. We can talk about why that is another time, but it's not. Okay, so let's go to the next slide. Let's talk about these 7 money milestones. 7 money milestones. Okay, now here's the thing. Success leaves clues. Okay, financial success leaves clues. And so these money milestones are the areas we need to get a handle on so we can create the assets to have the resources we need to create money. Okay. So remember, the first thing I said, I need you to put together 10 reasons why you want to be financially independent. Then I want you to think about 10 new feelings you're going to have. 10 new feelings you're going to have when you're financially independent. How would you feel if your house was paid off? Totally. And it was a house you were excited about living in. What if your house was totally paid off? All your cars were paid off. Everything was paid off. You're debt free. You're debt free. You don't owe another soul anything. Okay? So that's the first part of it. How would that feel? Not what you think about it, but how would that feel? And then you had enough money coming in without you going to work. That was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times the amount of money you needed to live on. How would you feel? A lot of people, 76% of America lives paycheck to paycheck. So they know how it feels to run out of money before they run out of a month, right? People know what stress is like and fear is like and concern is like. But I need you to think about, what would it feel like to be financially independent? See, if you have strong reasons why you want to be financially independent, and you have strong feelings, if you have strong feelings about being financially independent, you will then want to be financially independent. Harriet Tubman said she would have got more people free out of slavery if they realized they were slaves. But some people, they just got used to living a certain way and didn't consider themselves slaves anymore. So freedom wasn't something that they desired because they didn't see themselves in bondage. To become financially independent, you're going to have to want it as much as you want air to breathe, because it's real easy to just stay in the circumstances you're in. That's why they call it a comfort zone. It's comfortable. Okay, to become financially independent, you're going to have to get uncomfortable. So you're going to need strong reasons why, and then feelings that you want to have versus the feelings you got now. Now, we're going to have to do some work to make this happen, okay? Now, it's November, right? About to be December. Okay, what happens next April? Happens every April, usually in April. You gotta file your what? Taxes, right? And file your taxes. So I'm going to help you with that by what I'm about to ask you to do. I'm going to help you file your taxes and get yourself positioned to create financial independence. I want you to do what's called a zero-based budget. What? A zero-based budget. Zero-based budget. Because if we go back to the financial milestones, when we put these 7 financial money milestones together, the first thing you're going to need is a financial education. Become financially literate and find a financial professional. So either you can work with someone from our team on this plan, or find a local financial professional, or we're willing to work with. So the 7 money milestones, you see them on the screen. The first one is financial education. Okay, become financially literate, find a financial professional. I can play that role for you. Somebody on my team can play that role for you, or you can find someone locally. But what they're all going to ask you to do is, what's your budget? So I'm asking you to do a zero-based budget. What does that mean? Look at your last 3 months' expenses. You may be on an app that tracks it. You may have to download it from your bank or whatever. But I want you to look at every dollar you're spending. Every one of them. How many of them? Every one of them. Because in today's world, you can have several $100 going out every month on subscriptions that you forgot you had. You know? And if you don't look at it every month, that money's just going to those companies. You're not even using those subscriptions anymore or whatever. Okay? So I want you to have 2 columns of items. 2 columns of items. One is non-discretionary, meaning these are things you have to have at a bare minimum in your budget. Non-discretionary. Okay? Then on the other column is going to be discretionary. Okay? So what goes in non-discretionary? Guess what the first thing that goes in non-discretionary is? Giving money. One of the first things I want you to be is generous. Think about who you could give money to. Something. I'm not telling you a percentage, but be a generous person. Why? Because that will come back to you. Give and it shall be given unto you. Pressed down, shaken together, shall men give into your bosom. I don't have any money. You want me to give my money away? I ain't going to never have nothing. Okay, we got to change our thinking. Okay, first thing in non-discretionary is giving. I'm going to give some money away. Second thing is, you've heard this, it's called pay yourself first. What if you had a certain percentage of all the money you had ever made since you started working, and it was sitting in a bank account right now? You tell me what the percentage is. I'm not even going to tell you, but it's above zero. For all the money you ever made since you got your first money doing whatever you did as a kid, what if you had a percentage of that right now? Would you be better off financially than you are? Yes. Do you have a certain percentage of every dollar you made? Well, if you don't, there's a new habit we need to start called paying yourself first. Savings. Yeah, charitable giving, then pay yourself first. Non-discretionary. Then all the things you need to pay every month. Okay, utilities, right? A rent or a mortgage payment. Debt payments, right? They're non-discretionary now. Why? Because you made a commitment to pay them. They were discretionary before you signed your name on that line and signed the contract to pay. Up till then, they were discretionary. Now they became non-discretionary. So what's in that list? Charitable giving, your savings, your long-term investments, your investments. Investments are anything over 5 years, you know? You're not going to touch it for 5 years. Your expenses, rent, mortgage, utilities, things you have to pay. Nowadays, you could argue cell phones are in that number. Okay? What's that number? The non-discretionary is everything else. Okay? Now, food is non-discretionary. Eating out at a fast food restaurant, going to Starbucks, going out to dinner is discretionary. You understand what I'm saying? Going on vacation is discretionary. It really is. Okay? So we have that list of non-discretionary items and then discretionary items. Now we're going to look at your income. We're going to look at what your net income is from all your sources of income. And how many sources of income do you have? You want to write them all down. So that's where we're going to start. The first thing you're going to do is you're going to look at your income and look at what percentage of your income are your non-discretionary items. Okay? Because if there isn't a lot of money left, then this whole list of discretionary stuff has got to come down quite a bit, or we got to wipe it out. Make sense? You see where we're going? First thing is, we talked about is making more money. We talked about income and how you need to create more value in the marketplace, right? By either being innovative at work, creating more value at work so they're willing to pay you more money, or you start a business. You got work and you start a business and you do it outside of work and you start creating multiple streams of income. So first thing we got to do is we want to get our income up. Next thing we want to do is we want to get a handle on our expenses. And we want to have a plan for spending money. We just don't want to, as they say, willy-nilly be spending money. We want to have a plan for our money. Because it'd be kind of nuts to buy a new car, right? Have a big car note and have no money saved for retirement. Does that make a lot of sense? Taking this fabulous vacation, but I don't have any money for emergencies if something comes up. Do you understand what I'm saying? So these 7 money milestones. First is a financial education. Second is proper protection. We're going to cover proper protection is the second money milestone. We're going to look at your insurances. How many of you guys have seen GoFundMe accounts out there for people who either had somebody pass away or somebody get injured? Have a stroke, heart attack, get injured, or they pass away and they have a GoFundMe account. We're going to look at insurance protection. And about half of the people watching this don't have any. They don't have any. And then a third that do, so 50% don't have any. Of the 50% that have some, a third of them either don't have enough or they have the wrong kind. So 85% of the people in America have something wrong with their protection plan that need to have it looked at. Third thing is emergency fund. How many months worth of expenses or months of income, however you look at it, we'll talk about that down the road, do you have saved for emergencies? Do you have saved for emergencies? Emergency fund, that's milestone number 3. Milestone number 4 is debt management. Do you have a strategy for getting out of debt? You know all debts aren't the same. Do you know all interest rates aren't calculated the same? Do you know there are strategies of when to pay your debt in the month, during the month, that can make a difference with how much interest? Just the day you pay your bill on can make a difference in how much debt you owe. Okay. Number 5, cash flow. We talked about that. Earning additional income and managing your expenses. 2 things we got to do. Earn additional income and manage our expenses. Because what we want to do is create margin. That margin that we create, that's the money that we can use to start a business, to invest for the future, to save for emergencies. So income up, expenses controlled, that creates margin for us to live on. Next is build wealth. Okay. Now, are you going to save your way to being wealthy? To be honest with you, probably not. Why? Because we don't make enough money, most of us. How long would it take you to have $1 million saving what's left at the end of the month in your paycheck? Probably take a while, right? That's why we want to talk about getting your income up. At the same time, we're controlling your expenses. We got to do both. Building wealth and then protecting wealth. How do you protect it? You protect it through certain legal structures we're going to talk about. Trusts, wills, trusts, foundations. We are going to show you how to protect your wealth so you can pass it on to your next generation. Okay? So those are the 7 money milestones. Where can you read about that at? There's a book called How Money Works. Now, we're working to set up a group on the blackdoctor.org Facebook page. There's a group called Financial Freedom Fridays. You want to join that group? Because in that group are going to be links to this information. There are going to be reading lists, links to other information that you ought to use, etc. Okay? So you want to get the book. It's called How Money Works. It's available on Amazon. I don't make any money from the book, okay? I don't make any money from the book. I wish I did. The guy's name is Siebold, 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 okay? And Tom Matthews, Mathews, okay? How Money Works. You want to buy that book because that's the book we're going to use to teach you about how money works. Now, to create passive income on the next slide, these are the characteristics of passive income. So I want you to think about, what if you had money coming in, it came in like this? One, there was zero market risk. In other words, what if your money that was invested, you were 100% sure you weren't going to lose any money in the market? What if you could have zero market risk? What if you could have your long-term care needs taken care of? Hey, look, guys, my mother lived with me for 15 years before she passed away, right? The first 12 or 13 years weren't too bad. But those last 2 or 3 years when we had to care for her, see, I didn't know about long-term care insurance and preparing for long-term care in the elderly before I got into this business and started learning about it. So my mom already had some conditions and some other things where she couldn't take advantage of those, and she was at an older age. So either you have long-term care for the older people in your life, or you're going to be long-term care for them. You understand what I'm saying? So we need to talk about long-term care and taking care of the elderly and taking care of you when you become elderly, because 7 out of 10 of you are going to need it. We want to grow your money tax deferred. In other words, we don't want to be paying taxes while you're growing your money. And when we use it as income, we want it to be tax-free. Tax deferred when we're growing it, tax-free when we use it. And then we want to pass it on to the next generation tax-free. Does that make sense? So this is the kind of passive income that we want to create for you. The kind that doesn't have market risk, will prepare and take care of your long-term care needs, will grow tax deferred, won't have to pay income taxes on it, and you can pass it on to your next generation tax-free. Does that sound like something you'd want to learn about? Keep coming back to this broadcast and get the book, How Money Works. So what's your homework? I know we're going into, Christmas and what all like that, but hey, look, before you blow all that money on those presents, give yourself a present. What's that present? 10 reasons why you want to be financially independent. Write those down. 10 feelings that you'll have that you don't have today when you are financially independent. Thirdly, so 10 reasons why you want to be financially independent, 10 feelings that you'll have, and how would that feel when you're financially independent? And then do that zero-based budget, because that's going to be our starting point for creating your financial strategy to be financially independent, where you challenge every dollar you're spending. Because see, for those of you that are married, one of you guys is a saver and one of you guys is a spender. In my family, I'm the spender. So my wife is always looking at the account. Hey, Gus, what's this? Ooh, I should have talked to her about that before I did that. Well, I kind of did this and that. Matter of fact, I had something in a cart right before we recorded this. I was going to get it. I deleted it out. See, my wife would be proud of me. It wasn't in our budget, but it was something I needed. You know what I'm saying? So that's what we're going to do. That's where we're at. So look, financial independence is something all of us can have, and all of us can be moving towards, and all of us can have it. The question is, how bad do you want it? How bad do you want it? And do you have a plan? So we're going to get you the plan. You have to provide the energy and the initiative to make it happen. We're going to give you everything you need to be financially independent, and you can't say nobody never told me. But here at blackdoctor.org on Financial Freedom Fridays with Gus, we told you now. You can't say you didn't know. You're not going to be able to say that. So we'll see you next Friday, and you're going to have your zero-based budget. You're going to have your 10 reasons, and you have your 10 feelings. And I'm going to ask you right at the beginning of the show to type them in so I can see some of them, see what you got, or email me at that email address, okay, with any questions you have, or with your list of your feelings and your reasons, okay? So with that, we're out, and you guys have a great weekend, and we'll see you next week. Take care.